So if you're just tuning in to the NREPORT Husker Show, we've been talking about baseball, softball, men's gymnastics, got through basketball now, and we are going to be transitioning into talking about major facility upgrades that are happening around campus. You kind of touched on this at the beginning with officials recently cutting the ribbon on Nebraska's new track and field complex.
There is, we'll just attack this right now. There is speculation that Nebraska is going to try to host the NSAA high school state track and field championships. Look at it; it's pretty beautiful.
Great.
It's an amazing track. From the people we've talked to that have competed on it, they love the surface. They have about everything they need. I don't know if the stands, I don't know what the capacity of Burke Stadium compared to what Nebraska has right there, but I've got to believe if Nebraska were to put in a bid to host the NSAA championships, they can bring in more seating.
Yeah.
And if that area can host Nebraska volleyball games routinely and the crowds that they attract, it's going to be able to have the parking for the high school state track and field championships. It's really cool. I hate to just go straight into what it could do for the high school state track and field championships, but I think that that's a pretty big piece here with what's happening with this brand new facility. It is really nice, and they've been working on it. I think the folks that went to, Nebraska wrestling duels and Nebraska volleyball matches, you saw all the construction over the course of the fall, right? It took out some parking spots, and you saw the lights were on, and the crews were working around the clock. They were working through some terrible weather in the winter, and now you see it with the ribbon cutting this past Friday. It's next level, and it's really it's great that the team can actually compete at home, right?
Yeah.
Because this is prior to this year, they hadn't had home track and field competitions for outdoors since they moved from the track that's right next to Memorial Stadium, Ed Weir Field. So, that was several years ago. Now they can do it from the comfort of their own homes, apartments, dorms, and just roll on out and sleep in their own beds. And they're going to host a couple of meets each year. And the Big Ten Championships are coming here next month.
Yeah, that'll be their first big test. UNL says that all events can be held in one venue, so that creates an ideal championship environment for both athletes and fans, of course. So how big of a development is this new track and field complex for Nebraska?
You mean in terms of I don't know the price tag on it. So $5 million, $3 million?
Couple million?
Yeah, it was in there. But Troy Dannon, when he became Nebraska's athletic director, this was on his priority list from the very beginning. And it was twofold. One, he wanted to make sure that the student athletes on Nebraska's campus had the ability to compete in the outdoor season at home. Secondly, he understands that hosting championship events in Lincoln, it's a big deal. Yeah. And we're starting to see that not just in track and field, but gymnastics just held the Big Ten championships. And it's kind of tough. It's a tough sell recruiting-wise, and it's almost like you're selling your fans short if you provide something, but you can't provide the biggest thing for them. So always having to travel for the championships, well, that's not the case anymore. So it was a dream of Troy Dannon's, and now it's come to fruition with some funding and
$10.5 million for this venue.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and it looks pretty spiffy. So we would say money well spent.
Yes. Well, they've had the track,
right?
And the team has been able to train on the track for the last couple of years. But now they've got the stands. Now they've got the ring. Everything just kind of works together in the grandstand. It's actually pretty good view of the track, and then you get a little bit of Lincoln in the background to look at as well.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, the Devaney Sports Center undergoing some changes. John Cook Arena forcing volleyball to practice elsewhere. What can you tell us about where they've been practicing? I know you've been to a couple of places.
They don't want us to say. I think people that know, they know where they're at. They're in off.
But how do they like it? I guess that's the more important
The
question.
Correct terminology is they are practicing at an off-site venue in Lincoln.
Sure.
Some of the girls say it takes them back to their club volleyball days. We'll let everybody connect the dots. This isn't really hard to figure out. But they've been training there. The one thing that's I think that people don't realize is that before practice, after practice, in between meetings and stuff like that, what do the girls like? They like to just hang out in their locker room. You see some.
We've seen the TikToks.
Thank you. You've seen the TikToks. Okay. But even beyond the social media things that they do, that's just their spot.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have their spot. They got to go to somebody's apartment or dorm, and it's more of like a social inconvenience for the team. But as Bergen Riley told us, they know what the end game is going to look like, and that makes it all okay.
Yeah, and just to give you some details about those renovations, we'll show you here. New cup holders at every seat, centralized student section, things like that. What kind of stands out the most to you about these upgrades? There's been some reseating and things like that as well. So I know some unhappy fans, but you got to update the...
There's a lot of unhappy fans, Danny. Let's not kid ourselves. The folks that have had tickets in the same spot with the same people near them for year after year after year, they're not going to have the seats that they've had in the past. And they're a little bit upset and heartbroken by that because there are communities within the Nebraska volleyball community. People that sit in section 207, and they've been in 207 for years. And, every Wednesday or Friday or Saturday, that's their reunion with the people that they enjoy Nebraska volleyball by. Now, they haven't had the quote-unquote draft, and that's where you pick your seat after you've given your donation to allow you kind of the spot in which you get to pick. So that's the way it works. Not to get too far into the ins and outs of how this works, every seat is open back up based on the level in which you donate for your tickets. That allows you a specific spot within the picking your seat order. And so the more you give, the earlier you get to pick. The less you give, the later you get to pick. And there are levels in which you can select. So if you timed it right and you talk to your people that you've been sitting by for many years, if I'm selection 4,162 and then, my neighbors who I like to go watch with is at 4,199, they can know, like we can be on the phone, we can be on FaceTime, and we can communicate with each other like, all right, well, I got this section. These are my seats. I see that there's like 4 more open. You're just asking that hopefully nobody within 70 picks gets in between you, and you can still maybe have the people around you.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little game planning.
Yeah, so like it's going to affect who you're with, the experience. I'm very fascinated to see. You showed the images. It does look beautiful. It looks really cool. And it's going to increase capacity. More people are going to be able to get in. They could have gone up to 16,000, and it's still going to be sold out.
Yeah.
So,
meanwhile, Memorial Stadium going back on some seats potentially with this big red rebuild. And so Regent's going to be considering the plan for that this Friday at 9 a.m. I'll show you the little proposal details here. Going to bring capacity down to 80K, kind of connect the East and West Bowls, things like that. What are your thoughts on some of those changes?
There's no stairs up to the top section, so hopefully they can revise the rendering. No, I mean, like South Stadium is a love it and a hate it kind of thing, right? People that have had tickets in South Stadium for years after years, some of them absolutely love it because that's where you watch it. And it's kind of like, it's not the glamorous seats, but it's your seats.
Yeah.
And there's some people that are like, these seats are tight. It's an inconvenience to get there. It's challenging, and it's not a great view. I want this to be changed. And so Nebraska's maybe at a spot facility-wise that they've got it. Like, how much longer can you go with the current structure of the building? Don't know. But they're planning and they're putting something in front of the board. It's going to be voted on this Friday. Is this the end game? Is this what it looks like?
I think so, yeah.
And then
the outside shows the biggest change, kind of, I think, entering into the stadium. They have a nice little setup, I think, that they're building on the outside. It'll cycle through here eventually. But I think they also are going to renovate the bathrooms, which have been much needed.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, at some point, something has to be done, right? Because the bathroom is outdated. The fact that, to get to South Stadium, you have to come in. You have to go up those stairs in South Stadium. It doesn't wrap all the way around. You can't go from, the section on the west side, on the farthest south part of, like, you're at the edge. You have to go down, out, around, up. Like,
yeah.
The way stadiums are being built anymore, like, that's just not the case anymore.
These changes are pretty much necessary to have Memorial Stadium keep pace with everyone else that's been making updates across the nation. Isn't Northwestern undergoing a big, because they've been playing off-site a few home games now, I think.
Absolutely.
So,
there's a
to
lot at
stay
stake.
competitive, this is huge.
Yep. And it's not like Nebraska's putting a dome on this thing and making a substantial change. No, they're trying to make it a little bit more fan friendly, try to connect East Stadium with South Stadium, West Stadium with South Stadium, also with North, and even the one thing on the renderings that really caught my eye is that outside area to the south.
Yeah.
They're going to beautify that. It's kind of like a congregating walkway area. Maybe that's where the team's going to start to enter now, or maybe that's where they try to move some festival kind of activities. Because we saw them do something new last year where they had concerts inside the Hawks Championship Center. There were some logistical challenges with that. So maybe they're trying to create some outdoor space where they can do more things that aren't just about the football. And, they're going to, they're it's a small little parking lot. They could, of course, renovate that space and do some pretty fun things. Maybe have the band out there and perform. Maybe have the drum line out there to help, usher in some of the fans. With the dudes. I don't know. There are endless possibilities with that outside space that I see.
Yeah, they'll get a test of how Memorial Stadium is functioning with Zach Bryan coming to town here this weekend.
Assuming the weather cooperates.
Yes.
Saturday night doesn't look so friendly here.
Well, now we'll kind of go back to Nebraska volleyball after hitting on all of these spring sports here, because the Husker volleyball also staying very busy this spring with a lot of matches.
Used to just be one, right?
Yeah.
They practiced. They had a beach season. They'd practice indoor. They'd play their one exhibition, and they usually would play somewhere outstate, and then it's done. This has been the most public spring Nebraska volleyball season in the history of the program. They're coming up on their third exhibition match. Of course, they played in Sioux Falls, Bergen Riley's homecoming against Iowa State. Then they played Creighton last Friday in Omaha. Now this weekend, they're going out to Chadron. They're going to play Northern Colorado in Chadron. So it's a 3-exhibition spring season, which comes immediately after their beach season. So these coaches, these young ladies have stayed insanely busy here in their quote-unquote off-season.
And so what have you kind of seen so far from these spring matches that Danny Busboom-Kelly's been working through with these different combinations on the floor?
Well, she tried a 6-2 last Friday, and then she publicly said, we're not doing that in the fall. So she put that to bed. That's just why not? You can try that out with your own team. But just go ahead and give it a shot and see what it looks like. I think one of my biggest takeaways is, one, this team's really, really, really good. Secondly, Virginia Adriano has really taken her game to the next level. They're having her play some back row, which she didn't really do last year. She could be a 6th rotation player. She's hitting the ball harder. And, those are my takeaways from my eyes, from the people that I know in the volleyball circles. The number one takeaway that they have is Nebraska's serving has improved. They are just so much more aggressive from the service line.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because they're in exhibition matches and there's really nothing at stake. So, of course, you let it rip. But that's one of the things that I'm consistently hearing from the people I talk to that keep a pretty close eye on Nebraska volleyball.
And I think that's what is also impressive when it comes to Adriano and Andy Jackson serving, is because they're so tall and their contact point is so high. It's basically like they're spiking from 30 feet back when they're serving, because it's just so.
Yep. And I guess one of the practices that we attended, Kenna Kogel, who was a freshman last year. She took a redshirt season, didn't see the court. We've seen her in these spring matches. I think she's a really good player. So the middle conversation starts and ends with Andy Jackson, right?
Right.
And Manaya Obeche played so well last year. But I think Kenna's got potential to have a really standout career in Nebraska as well. So I don't want to be dismissive of her, though she is behind Andy Jackson and Manaya. And maybe they load manage Andy. I mean, because she jumps so often, she jumps so high. And there's going to be some matches where I think that, and Danny proved last year, any rotation goes, right? She will find a way to get players on the court.
So middle is kind of a position battle that you'll be watching for that second person besides of Andy. Is there any other position that you're thinking it'll be a close battle?
Well, Liv seems like she's going to be the libero, Olivia Mauk, right? And then they got Laney Choboy. Now, how do they get Carrie Leinbach on the court? Because she's played very well in the spring matches as well. Redshirted last year, of course, from Lincoln.
She seems like she's going to take Maisie's spot in being a serving specialist, I feel.
I agree. I think she's talented enough, and she's proven she can play at this level. Like, you can't not play her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So... now, as for what Danny does with some of the incoming freshmen, I guess that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. U21 team, Anaya Obeche, Keone Williams, and Campbell Flynn making it. Are you surprised by those three, or who didn't make it, anything like that? Because
nope.
I don't know if who all actually goes to those tryouts.
No, I think that's pretty spot on. What's crazy to me is like those girls didn't really get a they didn't have much of a spring because they're competing and training so often. And now those individuals that you just referenced, like they're going to pivot straight into training with the national team and competing on that level. So it's like eat, sleep, volleyball. There is no break at all for them. Hopefully they get some sort of vacation or downtime somewhere in there.
And so what do you think the biggest storyline will be this fall coming up?
Will they win a national championship?
Can they do it
like
the senior season?
I mean,
we keep saying
I'm sorry. I'm sorry if like you need something like nitty gritty about the team and how they're like. The schedule's going to be crazy.
Playing Texas. Some point
they're going to play at Wrigley Field. The schedule's going to be crazy. They're going to go up to Brookings, South Dakota. They're going to play in South Dakota. You know, it's going to be a happening. Let's just say that. Like there's. Because you saw last year when Nebraska was on the road, they were selling out opposing venues. Everybody wants a piece of this Nebraska volleyball team.
Yeah.
And so knowing that the profile has grown the way it has ever since Volleyball Day in Nebraska and then going down to the Final Four in Tampa and just this swell of people that want to be a part of Nebraska volleyball, they're kind of, I don't want to say cashing in because that seems to have a period on it. No, they're just leaning into the fact that they are such a hot commodity. So they are going to play, we don't know where they're going to play Texas. Well, that's going to be a marquee thing. And some of the other scheduling elements about Nebraska volleyball that's going to be in front of this team, there are going to be some major eyeballs. There's going to be a lot of people that get to be a part of this because that's truly what it's all about. So what's my overall thought on Nebraska volleyball? Like, it's going to be kind of nonstop in terms of that. Like, there's no more we're playing Maryland today. No, it's going to be a big deal every time they play. The volleyball is going to be really good, and they're going to try to chase a national championship.
Yeah, and so you mentioned Wrigley Field. That's happening September 6th. They'll play Missouri, but the timing on that is still they're still unsure. The first match will be at 6 because the other match that night is going to be Penn State and Kentucky. And no offense, but I feel like Penn State Kentucky is going to be the bigger match, maybe a little more competitive. I guess I don't know too much about Missouri, but
I think, well, we're in Chicago in September, right? Like, what time do you play? Just forget the other matches of the day. Like, what time do you play an outdoor volleyball match in Chicago on September 6th? Probably not at night, because it's going to be it's going to be colder. Maybe not. Who knows? Danny made the comment about I don't know what the wind's going to be. Like, is the wind blowing out to left field?
Playing sand volleyball, that can be tough.
Does a high set by Bergen Riley end up on Waveland Avenue?
Because you couldn't ask for better weather when it came to Nebraska Volleyball Day in Nebraska. That was perfect weather, but are you going to get that in Chicago?
Who knows? I it's less about the volleyball and more about the event. We learned that with Volleyball Day in Nebraska, but that's one of the things that made it so special. It was historic. I asked Danny about so what do you think about the Wrigley Field thing? And she played nice. She gave the answer about what an awesome opportunity to play at this iconic venue, and it's going to help grow the game. But she also snuck in a couple of comments about the weather and the impact of the wind. So she knows But I guess they're willing to pay that price just to have the spotlight and be a part of something like that. And beyond playing that Saturday match, or Sunday, sorry, excuse me. It's a Sunday match inside Wrigley Field. Sunday, right? September 6th?
Sunday.
Yep. They play Friday at DePaul in Chicago. So it's a weekend in Chicago for the volleyball fans.
Yeah, huge.
You could go just for Sunday if you want, but you could also go
And get
try to
games.
support the team, watch them at the Paul, hang out in Chicago for the weekend. It's Labor Day weekend, by the way, so you have an extra day off
Yeah.
of work. So it lines up pretty nicely if you're
Yeah,
a Nebraska volleyball fan.
They timed that out well. And now, one final thing about this fall for the volleyball team: the first ever Big Ten volleyball tournament is going to be happening. Do you think this is
See,
a long
again,
time
another
coming?
thing, right? Like
Yeah,
the
another thing. Keep
the
adding,
schedule,
yeah.
it just this isn't going to be your standard Nebraska volleyball schedule. Just because there's so much involved. And not to mention, we talked about the Devaney Center changes. There's fewer home matches now, too.
Yeah.
And some of the home matches aren't going to be in Devaney. They're going to be at Pinnacle Bank Arena. It's going to be a totally different experience following Nebraska volleyball. Big Ten tournament, first off, how many, 15 teams qualify? Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, so I spent 15 minutes trying to write the bracket. What does a 15-player or 15-team bracket look like? The Big Ten already had it published. I could have just looked at the infographic. If you're one of the top seeds, Nebraska's probably going to be one of the top 4. You're automatically in the quarterfinals. So, I mean, that thing could be wild.
Yeah.
Right? Like, imagine Nebraska playing Wisconsin for the Big Ten championship, or maybe in the semifinals. There could be a high leverage Big Ten volleyball match in the quarterfinals, semifinals, or the championship. Because you think back to previous years, there have been times that Nebraska plays Wisconsin, the day before Thanksgiving, and it's essentially to determine the Big Ten champion, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this is going to be the same. It's kind of the same week, and instead of it being like, oh, well, we're going to hope that these two teams are competing for the league title, and that's just the no, like, you're actually going to be competing for the league title because they're going to have gone their way through a bracket.
So do you think this kind of changes the way that some teams might approach the regular season when it comes to having this as a final thing?
Not really. You just know you got to be really good. If anything, it could give a team that's a bubble team a chance to make a run and play their way into the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's benefit from what this could do for some teams that are trying to improve their RPI, try to get into the NCAA tournament. And it's also just going to be really, really good volleyball as the NCAA tournament nears, right? And maybe that's what college volleyball needs because the Big Ten is so, like, at the upper crust of volleyball that they don't want Nebraska playing Maryland. My apologies. I'm not trying to, like, shame one program here. But they want the best teams to be playing each other on the final week because that transitions very nicely into the NCAA tournament. It gives you a little bit of postseason before the postseason. You know what I mean?
Because I think that's where some people said that Nebraska, struggles towards the end of the year because you've got Iowa that doesn't really give you a challenge, maybe like Ohio State that doesn't really challenge you too much, and then bam, you're already transitioning into the tournament, and the level of play really elevates there. So how do you think this?
Nebraska had the Big Ten championship locked up with 2 weeks left in the regular season last year, so they could coast. They didn't have to what were they even playing for at that point? Because it seemed like they were going to be a number 1 seed, and they were going to hose. It was 4 matches of a little bit of meaningless volleyball.
Yeah.
They had streaks and they want to compete at a high level, but like that kind of removes that's gone now because the end of the year, you're in a bracket, you're in single elimination, and of course you don't want to lose in the Big Ten tournament quarterfinals and then come Selection Sunday on a loss. So, and you're going to get Minnesota, Penn State, Nebraska, Purdue, Wisconsin, like.
Yeah.
These are good teams.
And Penn State looking pretty good. I watched their spring match against, I don't know if it was Vandy or who it was, someone. And, Penn State's reloaded. They've got Stuckey as center now and Whitney Lowenstein over there. Penn State's going to be a tough team again.
No Maggie Mendelson, though.
No.
She has transferred. But, yeah, there's still some local interest with Penn State. But just to think that, like, if the Big Ten schedule's not out, if Nebraska happens to, like, let's say, beat Penn State during the regular season, but then you catch them in the Big Ten tournament, like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
Like, they're gunning for you. And now you're playing in a tournament format. Like, again, that's what the Big Ten wants.
Yeah.
Like, that there are going to be some storylines. There's going to be some spotlight. And it could be pretty electric volleyball.
Yeah, a lot to look forward to here this fall, but Nebraska's final spring match is set for Saturday at 1 against Northern Colorado in Chadron. I know people were camping out for tickets, as you do for these when they play in these small little gyms, so that'll be a fun time. Kevin, any final thoughts before we kind of wrap this up?
No, we literally touched all the bases, starting with football or baseball and softball and wow. Husker Nation and the Huskers in general, they never give you moments to just kind of decompress.
Yeah.
There's always something coming.
Yeah. You got a little downtime for summer so you can finally catch your breath, but man, are you going to be back at it?
But maybe not. Maybe the baseball team, softball team go to the World Series, and I mean that goes into June, so
July,
bring it all on,
you have maybe 1 month.
What a year this could be for the Nebraska Athletic Department. It has been very special already. And we're at that point with the spring sports season. You can start dreaming about what May and June can possibly look like. It could be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And so for more Husker coverage, you can visit our website and follow us on all of our social platforms. And don't forget to download our Roku app for the latest news of the day, highlights, special stories, things like that. From our newsroom to wherever you are, we'll see you on the next stream.
You've been listening to the NREPORT Husker Show, sponsored by Fat Dog's Convenience Store. Watch, listen, and stream on the 1011 Now app, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more Husker coverage throughout the week, watch the NREPORT on 1011 Sports at 6 and 10 p.m. and download the 1011 Now app.